nicely done.
Thank you, Keen. I've been working hard on that.
That's
Thanks
good.
for that.
It's only taken us 3
I love
years
the
to get that
positive
down pat.
reinforcement that,
There we go.
we should do more of that in our lives.
I try and do that.
After listening to Amanda Lang about how we have to raise our children, I have to go back and take them back and
You're going to start all over
start
again?
over again.
Oh my goodness.
All right.
No.
I wasn't. I'd like to call to order, and anybody have any conflict of interest? Seeing none. It's the regular council meeting. Additional items is disclosed. Anybody got anything? I'll maybe have something. David, do you have anything? Yeah. Okay.
Nope, nothing for me.
All right. And welcome everybody, and I'll have a bit more welcome in a minute or two. Might be more crowd coming. You never know.
It's pretty slippery out there.
It is. It's not nice. I almost missed the driveway. I put the brakes on and it. Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Caldwell. The minutes of the January 9th, 2018 council meeting be approved. All in favor? Oh, it's a question. Yes.
I'm sorry. Just have to find your motion 1803. That was that severance. Under the comments, there was a comment about the public works responsible for ensuring access to the severed lands. Is that just a standard comment? Because that's on the highway, so we really don't need to do that.
No.
Through you, Mayor Bridge, that is a standard comment, and I guess we would make sure that whatever agency is controlling the road gives their approval for access. So,
Oh, I see.
But just I guess a reminder that we.
yes.
Okay, it just kind of jumped off the page at me because of its location and.
Fair comment.
Thought this was a spot house.
You got her.
All right, perfect.
Okay. Everybody else good? All in favor? Great. And we have delegation. No public meeting. We have delegations. Oh, first off, moved by Councillor Dirksen, second by Councillor Turton. Turkey. That the town of Minto Council convenes in the committee of the whole. All in favor? I'm just trying to change your name, David. Okay, and we're lucky to have a delegation tonight. And Gabby, I would like you to come on up. And who's coming with you? Just yourself? Are you doing all your own?
Yeah, it's just myself, but I've got my team here.
I know. I said cheer you on. So if you'd like to come up and introduce yourself and what your delegation, you can stand or sit. It's up to you.
Oh.
You have to speak into the mic, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
I'll stand. Okay, so my name is Gabby Uropoli. I am the Community Youth Resiliency Worker for all of Northern Wellington County. And I'm really here today to give an update on my role, some of the really cool and different initiatives that have been happening, and some next steps. Oh, this is awesome because Annalene just presses the button for me, so I don't have to do that.
Oh, Bill's doing it.
Oh,
Bill's doing it.
sorry.
Let me know.
Sorry.
That's okay.
Okay, I can do that.
You're the pressure.
So that's just a brief outline on the screen, just because there's been a lot that's happened over the past almost 2 years that I've been here. So I just wanted to kind of recap some of the annual, one-time initiatives that I do, the ongoing ones, community outreach efforts, our research projects, youth recognition, and some next steps and recommendations moving there.
Oh, welcome, Pat. That's all right.
Don't worry, I'm just doing a camera change here. It's okay.
Oh, right, because this is
So they can see it too.
Panic. That's what I'm saying.
I'm trying not to either.
So Gabby's just doing her update on the youth group, which I know you're fairly familiar with.
I don't have that picture yet.
Okay. I'll get you back up here in a second.
Okay.
There you go.
okay. So I thought I'd just start with kind of the background to my role and how this all came to be. So it started way back in 2013. It was basically a group of service providers that came together to talk about the youth that they work with, what are their needs, what are their challenges, what's happening in the community. And what they found was that we really needed a concentrated youth engagement effort and really focus on community and community engagement. So they applied to the Ontario Trillium Foundation, got some funding for 3 years, and then here I am. So we had a community forum to try to identify our priorities, which are listed there, but it's basically trying to increase awareness of opportunities, increasing accessibility of opportunities to our youth, having youth action councils, and this glue group of service providers and community members that really work side by side to engage our youth in different ways. So just quickly, some of the Trilling Foundation, they gave us some guidelines and targets that we had to meet. And I'm very happy to say that we've surpassed all of them with flying colors, which is amazing. The real focus was on trying to create systems to better serve our communities. So through our youth councils, we've done that through different committees that I've sat on, such as, our youth homelessness or youth harm reduction. We're really trying to work with community partners to look at these issues in a more effective way. And then the second one is trying to respond to community issues. So that's where kind of my steering group called North for Youth comes into play. So they look at different things happening in the community and what we can do as service providers to address those. As well, there's our Truth About Youth program, which I'm going to talk about a little bit later, but that's our at-risk youth in the alt-ed class that kind of goes out and works on community betterment projects. So it's pretty exciting. So now that we have all the boring stuff underway, we can talk about the fun things. So we're going to start with some of our annual initiatives to highlight. So the first one is the leaf cleanup. You might remember myself and Helen Edwards coming out to talk about that. It's a really great intergenerational program that we've started. Originally, we just focused on Mount Forest for the first year to see how it would work. And then last year, we brought it to Palmerston, Drayton, Arthur, and Mount Forest, which was really great. So we got the horticulture class at Norwell and the Center Peel students to come out, and they raked leaves for seniors in the community. And that's kind of blossomed into what we're hoping to call like an Adopt a Senior program, where we kind of link those students to seniors in the community, whether that be, shoveling snow or just checking in to say hi once a week, just so that they can build a relationship that way and kind of connect to different groups of people. The second one on the screen was our Youth Connections Day back in May of last year. And so that was a really great event. We brought grade 10s from Norwell and Wellington Heights together to really help them to see what opportunities are available locally. So what jobs are in demand here? What's it like to buy a house here versus in the city? What different opportunities are available here? And we're going to be doing that again this May. We've got a great keynote lined up and some different workshops for them to try out and learn about entrepreneurship and the trades. I think resume writing and mental health and wellness are kind of big feature items for this year. So some other ones that I've done, the recruitment fair. I've done that at Wellington Heights and hoping to do that at Norwell this year. It's basically a way for local businesses and nonprofits to showcase what jobs and volunteer opportunities are in demand locally. So it was really great last year. The students that came out, actually they all had to come out, so that worked. But if they brought their resumes, they had interviews on the spot. They got to find out where they could do their volunteer hours, who's hiring now or in the summer. So I know Taylor and I have kind of been talking about that. So we're going to be working on that with Norwell this year. The grad attire swap, so that's the top picture there. That just kind of came to me on a whim because graduation and prom was coming up. And for those of you with kids, know that it's really fun, but it's very pricey. And there's a lot of families in our community that really struggle to make ends meet. So I wanted to make sure that, that kids that were graduating actually felt special and excited about that day. So I just put a call out and I got like 55 outfits, which was amazing. Those all got donated to local youth in the community. This year we're calling it a pop-up shop. And it's going to be more of a swap. So you bring something in, you can take something. So it'll be dresses, shoes, suits, whatever. So if any of you have anything, let us know. We will add it to our collection.
Unfortunately, I don't think anybody will fit in my suits.
You never know.
Never know, though.
Different shapes, sizes, styles.
Not that meant.
Everything like that. So yes, it's going to be the Minto Youth Council and Wellington North Youth Council are actually going to partner on that. And
Great.
it's going to be a whole day with like mirrors and lights and fun things like that. And then we've got Youth Week, which happens every year. It's May 1st till the 7th. And so basically we hold different events and activities to recognize and celebrate our youth. So last year we had dances, outdoor movie nights. I always give out certificates to all of our youth council members. Just fun things like that. And this is the last one for annuals. So the food skills workshops that links high school students with who are taking the Raising Healthy Kids class. So they're in class, they're learning about what's age appropriate for food and intake and that kind of stuff. So then they develop a lesson plan and then go to the elementary schools and actually teach about nutrition. And then the kids all get to make healthy snacks together, which is pretty fun. Safe Talk workshop. This is a big one for me, especially in light of all of the suicides that have been happening in our community. Safe Talk, it basically trains anyone to be suicide alert, so to know what the risks, what the signs, what questions to ask, what resources. So we held it in Harrison last year, and we actually had a few youth and their parents come out, which I think is really great. I'd like to get more youth trained in that. And then we held it in Mount Forest just last week. So we're trying to kind of bring it to all different communities throughout. And last but not least, there's the teen video contest on distracted driving. So we started that last year, and it's basically that fatalities with youth drivers, one of the number one reasons is distracted driving. But instead of us telling them don't do it, we figured get them to talk about it and create videos. So I partnered with Safe Communities to do that, which was really great. And the videos were amazing. Like some were really personal, some were more facts-based, but it really got to the heart of the message. And the interesting thing about that is it was an initiative that started in London, and they got 4 submissions. So then we thought, why not try it? And we got 22 submissions. So I was like, that's pretty impressive for the county of Wellington here to get 22, and the city of London only got 4. So I was very proud of us here. I'm sorry if I'm talking very fast. I'm like, there's so much stuff, and last night Wellington North, I went over the time limit. So
Well, we will let you go over the time limit, not a problem.
Okay, so we're going to move on to some of the ongoing initiatives that happen with North for Youth. So like I said, the Truth About Youth program. So those are the 2 on the right-hand side. That's the group of them there. So this is the alternative education class at Wellington Heights. We're getting Norwell to be involved as well, but it's really about getting these kids out in the community, developing skills, meeting new people, because for them, they have a lot of challenges with the mainstream school system. A lot of them drop out, a lot of them don't attend class, and for whatever reason, they love being out in the community and doing things like this. So those 2 projects were actually done in Minto. So the top one is an accessible ramp that they built for a local resident here. And the bottom one, they built raised flower beds, and I can't remember which community group it was, but I think it was in Harrison.
It was for the Palmerston, Community Gardens.
Yes, community gardens. Yep. Okay. Yep. So they were in Minto. So they come over and they've got the blue cool bus that they drive. So if you see them around or have ideas for projects, their teacher is a skilled carpenter, so he can do pretty much anything, or they can do simple stuff as well. And then I feed them with treats like popsicles, so that always helps. The other picture on the screen is our youth engagement community of practice. So this is like a group of service providers that work with youth throughout the county. So I bring them together 4 times a year to have a professional development opportunity, networking, and then we send out a monthly newsletter to just kind of let everyone know what events or grants or programs are happening throughout the county. And this was actually the workshop that we held up here, and it's called Connecting with Youth the Rural Way. So just learning about youth engagement and how to better connect with them and get them involved in our projects. So there was quite a few people from Minto actually involved in that, which is awesome. And then we have our youth action councils, which you all know and love so much because they are amazing and very busy right now and very stressed with exams, but that's okay because we've got our study spaces, so hopefully that will help them. And they've got a lot of projects on the go for the spring, and I know they're consulting with a few of you on different projects, which is good. We'll get them back after exams are done and
Yep.
they've calmed down a little bit. And with our youth council, as you know, like Taylor is one of the adult allies, as well as Megan Raftis, and they've just done an amazing job with these youth and everything that's happened. So I'm really glad to be part of that. And a big thing with that Taylor applied for was the youth-friendly community application for the town of Minto. So I'm very hopeful that you are successful in that, because the things that I've seen happen in this township is just amazing. Like, you really and truly walk the talk when it comes to youth engagement. So I'm really happy that I've been able to work with you all on different things, including YAC. Okay. See, I can take breaths.
Yeah. Relax, you're doing great.
So I thought I would just kind of highlight some of the different community outreach efforts that I've done. For me, a big part of this job is being out in the community. It's meeting with people. It's talking to youth and businesses and organizations, and really trying to connect the dots as best as I can. It's funny when there's different nonprofits and they want something, and I'm like, oh yeah, I'll just talk to Taylor at the town. And they're like, you haven't been there? Like, how? I'm like, it's great. We all work together, and then things happen. And the top picture there, Dale, he's got the Toronto Maple Leafs jersey on, and he is nonverbal and uses a communication device. And he wanted to connect with youth about what it's like to use a communication device, how to better communicate with someone like him. So he put together this whole lesson, came in with his support worker and his iPad, and the kids at Norwell actually got to use it and see what that was like. So we're hoping to do more workshops like that at lunch so that they can see how to better work with people with different skills and challenges and interests. So that's pretty exciting. Next one. And so over the past couple years, we've done a couple different research projects with the U of G, just trying to really look at rural communities and what's happening elsewhere that we could be adding to our areas. The big thing to note with the bottom two, I think, youth harm reduction and our youth homelessness, was that, yes, it was great. We got this lit review done, but then we went a step further and we actually went out to youth in our community who have lived experience with these issues to ask them, you know, what's it like to be homeless in a rural area? What supports do you need? What would be helpful? What could we be doing differently? And they gave us a lot of really good feedback, and now we're using that to actually create new services or apply for grants that work with that. Because I think a lot of times, especially rurally, we don't think about homelessness. It's not as visible here as maybe the city. But I know the committee I sit on, we did a point-in-time count, and there was 42 youth.
Is that the Guelph committee that you're on?
No, so
Okay.
that's just Wellington County.
Okay, because I know they have the project in Guelph in Wellington County, and one of the hardest parts they have is to even homeless in general, not even just youth homeless. It's very hard in the rural communities to find them.
Yeah.
In the city, they're in spots like train stations and other things. You can see them. They're visible. We have them, but it's hard to identify. So it's interesting. So they're a group too that are working on projects. So that's something to maybe connect.
Yep. Yeah.
Because when you get information for them, that will help because there's money available, but we start finding them.
Exactly, and knowing who's where and whatnot. So yeah, so at least we talk to youth in our community to figure out what's happening and what will help them out. And yeah, each of our youth councils, they've tried really hard to find new and creative ways to really formally recognize the things that youth in our community are doing. So with Minto, we have a MIAC bursary at commencement. So that just started at Norwell this year, and then we hope to continue that each year with the hopes that a MIAC member will be recognized if we have grade 12s every year.
Yep.
So that would help. And then Wellington North and Mapleton also do their own awards. And like I said, I give out certificates during Youth Week to acknowledge our youth council members. And then I just added this slide in there about how, so a CYRW, that's kind of my acronym, the Youth Resiliency Worker. Kind of what I do to help support communities, and to me it's really about connections and trying to build relationships. It takes a lot of time and a lot of effort, but once you got it, then everything seems so much easier, and you can have so many more initiatives and programs and supporting youth really where they're at, because they're not all going to fit into the same category. There's lots of youth with very unique challenges, but really skilled in different ways. So if we can tap into what they're interested in, then that will make the big difference. I'm really proud of all the professional development opportunities that we've been able to bring locally. There's a lot of interest up here that I think people didn't realize before, especially with the Rural Way workshop. They were like, wow, you guys filled up. No one else did. And I was like, yes, we have more. Like, bring it again. So that's been really great for service providers, even networking that way, to know what's going on. And anything else that I do, that I try to be in the community and doing whatever I can. But then when I say that, it's not just me. There's a whole team, and there's a ton of different community partners that have been so vital in this work, because without them, it really wouldn't happen, between the municipalities, nonprofits, businesses. Yeah, it's just, there's so many people that are so invested in our youth and want to support them. And when we work together, I think that's what makes the big difference. So it's really amazing to see how many different organizations are involved in the diverse organizations who are really trying to work with our youth. So now this is when I pause, because now I'm just gonna. So now when I look ahead to the next few months, because I have funding till March, I wanted to look at what projects were really important. But I look at this picture, and that's my family. And some of you may know my dad. He was diagnosed with stage 4 pancreatic cancer in July. And we all really fought and tried really hard to keep him going. But he passed away in November. And the reason why I put that picture up there is because my sisters were really young. They just graduated university when this all started. And I didn't know about young caregivers before all of this happened. And now I'm really passionate about that, because there's a lot of young people who are supporting parents or grandparents or siblings, whether that be for physical issues, mental health, addictions, whatever. And I really care about these young people. I think they are struggling on their own, and that maybe there's something that I could be doing to advocate for them. So that's something that I would like to do for the next few months. Now that I've just brought that down, I'll get more excited. There's tons of other projects, but I know in speaking with Belinda, we talk a lot about youth unemployment and entrepreneurship. George, we will get that ice cream cart going at some point.
Got to get the ice cream cart going.
So I'm trying to figure out how to get the youth interested, get them some workshops so that they feel skilled to do that. Experiential volunteering is another one. They're like, yes, we want to volunteer, but we don't know what jobs we want. Can we volunteer somewhere where we can get skills, where we can see what'll work? So I'm working with the volunteer center to see how we can make that happen, who we could connect with to make it work. Mental health and wellness, again, that's a huge issue. So we're trying to create our outlets at Launch It, creating the really cool youth space. We've got study spaces happening. So young caregivers, youth spaces, and we are going to have a website that Taylor has been helping with a lot, which is super exciting because I am not techie at all, but it looks fabulous. So that will kind of be a way for people to learn about our youth councils, to see events, jobs, volunteer opportunities, everything. So your one-stop shop for youth up in the north. So that'll be good. Okay, and then I just put forth some recommendations for council. Pretty straightforward. It's basically everything you guys are already doing, because you're that awesome when it comes to youth engagement. is really to continue to support MIAC, to, support their initiatives, their events, to consult with them, as many of you have. It's really great to see that they've been able to give a voice for youth in the community on a lot of municipal projects. If you can continue to allow Taylor to be part of MIAC and to be the liaison for youth initiatives. She puts a lot of time into it, but it really speaks loud and clear, like how much the town of Minto supports our youth and how important they are. So they keep doing that. If there's anything I can do to help with any projects or goals or anything, I'd be more than happy to help facilitate focus groups or discussions or anything like that. And then to continue to support this role that I currently have. Like I said, we did receive Trillium funding, but that ended in December. However, through the town of Minto, Wellington North, Terry and the IPM, and Mapleton, we've been able to continue it until we find out about a second grant application that's been put forth. So I'm very appreciative to all of our town councils for supporting that and keeping this going, because I think there's a lot of momentum and really great work that's happened, and it's just going to keep going from here. I think
Questions?
or comments or anything.
Jane?
Just in regards to the homeless people, how did you manage to track them down in Wellington, like if they live in a rural area, by happenstance or because they're seeking other social services or?
Yeah, so it was all through service providers, so people that were working with youth that knew that they were homeless. So that was like through the schools or OW or OPP helped as well.
And so what do we do with youngsters that are homeless? Do we just leave them out there?
No.
Because we can't get houses for social housing for adults. They wait on long lists.
Yes.
So what do we do with youth? Because that's terribly concerning to me. I'm thinking I got 4 spare bedrooms.
Exactly. And that's
like actually, the thoughts that there's children out there living without a roof over their head.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so even when we talk to them, we're like, do we build a shelter? Like, is that what would help? And they're like, no, we would not go there. It's more of respite. It's really, sometimes it's a lot of family dysfunction that happens. Right. So they get into a big fight, they leave, but then they have nowhere to go.
Right.
And then the families don't know. So they're like, if we had a bed or somewhere to go for a night, then that might help, and then we can try and mediate with the families.
Well, that's what we used to do when we had kids at our house. We never knew who was living at our house for a week or two because but you just go, that's really disturbing that they don't have a spot to go.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And you just think, what's a viable alternative for them?
Exactly. So that's what I'm trying to get creative and think of, what
a Safeway house, somewhere where they can come, a hostel.
Mm-hmm. And just like a place where, they feel safe and respected, and then someone that can kind of mediate that. Because a lot of them say they want to go home, but then they don't know if their parents want them there, and it just a huge conflict.
And things. Okay.
Yeah. So
that's disturbing.
And I think you're working with social services on it.
Yes,
well.
yes.
I mean, because I was saying earlier, Gene, that's one of the projects I was on a couple of years ago with the homeless project, trying to find out, first of all, identify how many homeless we have, and then work with a plan to get. And I think Dave, you would remember how many have we got off the streets now? And 300 or something like that was our goal, which seems small, but in the end of the day, what Gabby's saying, there's a lot of issues that cause somebody to be homeless.
Oh, sure.
So you have to get through the issues to get to the point where, and maybe some of it's just as you say, conflict, and going and helping with the conflict if you can. And kind of getting the two parties back together. Yeah. But but
you can see the need for a safe haven.
A safe haven,
If there's a couple of rooms that you could sponsor or something, that they could have a safe place to stay with some sort of meals provided or something.
Yeah.
Just so that they're not alone on the streets.
Mm-hmm.
That's a pretty disturbing thought in a small community. And taking them to Guelph, even if there's resources, they're not going to get there, and they probably wouldn't go even if you could. They like to be near their friends, and like I say, by the time they show up in hospitals, in the emerge department, they're at the end of the rope.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And this came up loud and clear at the conference we were at, the mental health that just spreads throughout and misses. We're on all these silos, and the mental health sort of goes over all of them and misses all of them or falls down between them all. Yeah. Because there's a lot of mental health component to that, I would think. Mm-hmm. That's part of the reason for the disruptions.
But I think Gabby's ability to, if we have programs like hers that are on the streets to
Mhm.
talk to people, because it's going to be the kids that tell you that
That's
one of
right.
the kids, it won't be adults telling you, it'll be the kids
Well,
telling
if
you.
their parents are telling you, you know you're in trouble.
Yeah.
Because that's their last resource.
Ron?
I just financially, what kind of budget do you need to keep running? If you have no other resource coming in, what do you need to keep operating?
Yeah, which is like, and it's not like it's basically a budget because it's basically my wages, and then we have some like project costs, so like any program supplies that are needed. I'm trying to think of what the budget would be offhand.
What did you
I do know.
apply?
Just if you had, all I'm asking is if you ever thought of going to service clubs such as the Lions Club, such as Kinsman and Garriston, and Lions in Mount Forest, and they have a couple of clubs there, to ask for donations towards your organization, because I know our organization in Palmerston, a drop of a dime would give money towards an organization like yours. So maybe that's an option that you could be looking at too.
Yeah.
To send a letter off to these groups, and I'll guarantee you that they'll be behind you.
Okay. Yeah. So I've been thinking about that.
That's a thought that maybe you could start moving towards too, on top of what you need, because I don't think there's ever enough dollars. I mean, just cover your wages, and then we've got to cover whatever needs that you want to bring forward for the youth. And if it's a homeless thing that we have to financially back some night for whatever, a room or whatever, you have that. So don't be afraid to do something like that.
Okay, I will do that then.
And then Dave.
Through you, Mayor Bridge, I just want to make a comment. We are so proud of this group. They have done such wonderful things. You've been in existence for 1 year or 2?
I'm almost 2 years now.
Okay.
Yeah.
And what you have accomplished in those 2 years is phenomenal. And I think it's wonderful that our youth has an organization like this to, if nothing else, for somewhere for them to go and get some help or get support or whatever they need. And I just want to hope that you continue your hard work, because you're doing a great job, and thank you from our community for it.
Thank you.
David?
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. Gabby, I agree. I mean, in the number of initiatives and the stuff that you've talked about here, it's amazing. I mean, you're amazing. My question is, and I really think making sure that the kids go into their prom and stuff is pretty neat, the way you've shown their clothing and stuff. How do you donate to that? How do you, I mean, where you talk about trades, and I mean, really amazed with your speech.
Thank you.
And I don't know whether you have any notes or not, but hopefully, right? So
I know, now I looked at the time, I'm like, oh my gosh, I went over again.
So is there something that, I mean, how do you donate dresses and suits, and I don't know, I'm sure you'd be overwhelmed if everybody gave, but
Yeah, so what I did last year was I connected with the Community Resource Center, and then all the family health teams have outreach workers. I took pictures of everything, let them know, and then they came and like gave them out to the clients that they worked with. This year, what I want to do, so it's like less stigmatizing, is do this swap. So we're going to have everything at Launch It, and then it's open to anyone to come, and you can give like anything, and then you can take something so that anyone can have access to it.
Good, thanks.
And just to sum up, we've had lots of fun and we've had some great opportunities. But one of the things, I know you're hoping for a grant in March, but I always have to have a plan B, and I think that's sort of what we're talking about. I know we've committed in our budget going forward this year, I believe $5,000, is it? Linda was here, right, Joe? So, and the other 3 communities, I believe, you're hoping they'll do the same. And I think, did Wellington North do it last night, or were they?
Yes,
good.
They already.
Yeah. And so I think it's just great, and I agree with what everybody said around the table. And so we have to look, we don't want this to fall down. We want to keep it going. We've got good momentum. So let's hope we get some funding for you in March from another program. But if not, we have to look and have plan B ready. So that's something that I know Belinda's working on, and there could be some other monies in other places that we haven't looked. Ron's idea of going out to the community is fine. You just need a message to how that would be. some of our bigger employers I know have looked at different opportunities to engage in youth and whatnot because it makes sense for them as well.
Yep.
So there'll be some help there, I know, with Belinda and economic development, and with our youth group, we'll still help as much as we can. Yeah. Thanks for the presentation.
Yes, thank you
very
I'm
much.
sorry I don't keep you too long.
That's all
tonight.
right. That's all right. They get paid by the hour.
Mayor has an electric buzzer.
Okay.
Well, thank you, everyone.
Oh, thank you. You guys don't have to hang in. I know, Terry, you have to stay.
No, she's
No,
gone.
she
She was going to listen to you, though.
Oh, yeah, for a minute. Public question period. Oh, shoot.
They all left.
You do that every time.
Well, that's not my fault.
No, we can
I'm sure they'll be coming fast and furious in another month or two.
Reorder the agenda.
Yeah, the public question period happens before any delegations get to the presentation.
Yeah, that seems to be when we lose everybody, right after the delegation. Okay, well, we'll
So
think
at
about
least
that.
there'd be somebody here that could ask the question.
Yes, that's true. That's true. Okay, correspondence received.
Mayor Bridge, if I may, item, I don't know the number related to the Conservation Authority.
B, yes.
B,
Yes,
yeah.
we need that.
My understanding is Councillor Turton is very modest, doesn't want to speak out, but I believe he's approached the other communities of Mapleton and Wellington North, so he is willing to stand in that position again if we had a motion from council.
Councillor Caldwell, second by Councillor
Ferguson.
Dirksen. I got you.
Hi.
I know, Judy. I've been too long.
Name on my.
How long has it been? It's only been like only
Almost
40
4 years
minutes. Yeah, okay. I was trying not to say Judy. Okay.
Councillor Judy is fine.
Okay.
You could have called it
All in
Jean.
favor?
That's true.
And thanks, David, for that.
Yeah, I'm finding it fairly exciting. It's been 2 years, and there's a lot to learn and a lot to know. And I really think that this town here, Hairston for sure, Clifford Palmerston, our whole community is, over the last, since June 23rd, we're much closer to the conservation authorities than we've ever been. And some of the good work that they're doing, it's nice to be involved. So thank you. And yes, I have talked with Wellington North and Mapleton, and I'm going to be their representative as well. So.
Great.
Mayor Bridge, I have another item. I don't mean to
Yep, no, go
speak
ahead.
over council in this regard, but related to the Ontario Good Roads Association support of the resolution regarding the municipal class environmental assessment process. Just a little bit of background on that. We received that very recently from the Good Roads Association. I gather there's been quite a long process of looking to expand the Class EA process, increasing what's required, and other groups looking at making sure it is still a responsive process. You'll recall we did this process for the Hairston Industrial Park, and it took 4 years. Some of that was our fault because we were delayed, but other parts of it were very, very interesting as far as consultation and so forth. And what they're saying in these organizations, and what I heard at Roma from some of my colleagues, is that this process is getting more and more onerous, that more and more things will be subject to a Class EA, and that things like municipal drains, which we talked about here not too long ago, may well be forced into this process.
Means
as
they'll
well.
never get done.
So if you're doing a Class EA for our 20 some drains that are currently before us each time, I think we're looking at something that becomes way too cumbersome for what the original intent was. So I think the intent of this resolution is to try and give feedback that we're concerned that the process is getting a little bit too cumbersome, and we're recommending that you support that draft resolution. So if you did a motion to that effect, it would be very appreciative.
Certain. Elliot? I'll agree. Okay, I think it's important. I mean, you can imagine if municipal drains get put into this. Well, first of all, we got to get the name municipal off them because we're going to be killed.
Well, they're not all municipal.
No, they're not, and they really should be the Drainage Act, not the municipal. Then that would be less confusing that we have any real control over what's going on. But this, I don't mind. I'm all for the environment, but we get into a situation where, and you notice in the letter, I think it showed the cost. Where's the cost coming from? Is the government going to put enough people in the field to get these things to go through quicker? And on top of that, are they going to give us some money to offset the costs that have to be? How do we do infrastructure? That's my concern.
If I may,
Should we even, like, I don't know, is AMO going to have, some of us are going to good roads. Should we try a delegation, or do you think it's worthwhile?
Mayor Bridge, if I may, I have submitted on your behalf a delegation to OGRA in accordance with their guidelines, and I'm hoping to hear back that it's successful, and it's along the lines of what you spoke at the other.
Is that all right with everybody?
December, I think.
As far as we were talking about the drainage thing, right, with EAs and.
I just wondered if there was value in looking at item F as well.
F.
That's regarding infrastructure funding increases to stormwater and drainage issues, which is kind of near and dear to us at this point.
Yeah. Motion to support that. Judy? David? All in favor?
How much left to receive?
No.
Mayor Bridge?
No. We receive the rest of it? Mary Lou? Judy? All in favor? Good. Sports committees. James Way Manor, you got up there? Anything you want to add? No?
Nothing too exciting going on up there.
Just they're always busy and
Always busy.
run a good ship.
Yep. They do. Karen does an excellent job.
Mm-hmm. Minto Trails, we haven't got our Minto Trails.
You could have a motion on
Motion to accept that, sorry. Councilor Church. Gene?
Another J.
Yeah, Jay. All in favor? I'm having a bad night. Do one more, I'm done.
I think we should do a shuffle.
Yeah.
You're in committee of the whole, so you can use first.
I can use first names. I use first names anyways. What the heck?
You're more comfortable.
Yeah, I am good.
Your worship.
Thank you. Okay, the trails. Are you going to talk to that, Bill? Or you want?
Oh, I think.
Oh no, Matt's here. Oh, sure, Matt. On up. Our fearless leader on trails is in another trail somewhere.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge.
Texas.
I did have a chance to talk to Greg real quick at the end of the day today. So basically, their December 20th meeting was mostly to do about plans for 2018. A lot of discussion about maintenance, including capital and operating, some signage ideas, as well as some events to promote the trails. So I see this committee gaining a bit of momentum as we get into 2018 here, and once the weather improves, you should see a lot of neat and exciting things going on. Just with respect to the strategic plan that they've discussed, they're looking at improving Palmerston to 7th line by way of stone dust. That's one of the priorities, and the bulk of the proposed capital work would be that. The ask has since been reduced since we had our last town budget meeting. You might see later on that 30,000 was a number that was floated out originally back in December, but since we last met for capital budget discussions a couple of weeks ago, I think that number's down to 12,000. And the idea there would be to use the new scraper that got purchased towards the end of last year to drag from Palmerston to 7th line, and then just use less stone dust to get the areas that need it the most. And then just with respect to a couple of the other things, they're looking at doing some sort of event on the trails in the spring just to promote them, maybe get the word out through some of our social media channels. And then signage will be a priority for 2018 as well. We're still in the process of preparing our 2017 report for the County of Wellington's trail funding program. And if there is anything left, perhaps some of those things can be used to offset the signage and or maintenance costs. So,
Mayor Bridge, thank you to Matt for that. Just on the procedure as far as the minutes go, if we could just receive these minutes There is actually 30,000 in funding, but it's over 3 years. So if you were to approve that recommendation, then the inclination would be to put 30,000 in the 2018 capital budget. If that's what your wish is, then you could move the minutes be received and the recommendations therein be approved. Otherwise, if you would like to leave it where it is, then it's just to receive the minutes. And I think we had a discussion about trail capital at the last budget meeting, and I think generally, I think it was 12 or 14,000 we put in this year, and for next and the year after that as well. So we'll do a little bit at a time.
And, I just talked to that for a second or two. The county had a trail budget plan, and I believe it was $50,000 per community, but you had to do 50%. So they did that 4 years ago, I guess when they did the program. We had 4 years to complete. We pretty well used up all our portion. Some communities haven't done any. So at the county council meeting last week, there was a motion or discussion at our budget meeting, I think in January, that there's leftover funds in there. So I'm going to push hard, and I think, David, I can maybe talk for you there a little bit, but I think we'd push because we're into a trail building program. If the money's still there, why wouldn't you allow places that are actually working on it to take that money? So I think we've got some consensus. I've been talking to some of the councillors, and I think they're going to rethink this thing and maybe put another one out there. So I kind of like to maybe keep it to where our budget is right now, because hopefully we'll get matching funds. I think that may be a good possibility in 2018. So we might be able to still do it, but have some matching funds. And I think once the trail gets up and running, and I was talking to Deputy Mayor Faulkner on this, once you get it moving in the spring, I think there might be some community groups that want to contribute as well. So I don't think it has to be all on the town to do the whole thing, but I like the direction the trail committee's going, and I think we might get some county funds or some other matching funds from other places. So I think their idea of doing the stone dust is amazing, and that's going to be what it costs, but the signage. But I think we have an opportunity if we just receive it, I guess, Bill, is what you're saying, to work. We don't have to cut our budget till March or April, but right now we've only got 12,000 in this year's. But I think we could still maybe do the projects they want to do, but we'll find the money with some partners.
Yep. Just, if I may, in support of that, and I hate to get too political, but as a staff member, but I think even those of you who were on the 2 terms ago and then last term as well, we had that multi-million-dollar active transportation plan done by the county, and in it they talked about creating hub trails and all that sort of thing, and it kind of got put aside in favor of this approach, which is much more affordable, and let communities that are interested in building an active transportation network to help sustain that. So I certainly appreciate that continuing, because I think we've benefited from it greatly, and we'd like to see that keep moving. Trails are very important to us here, so it'd be nice if the county kind of remembered that plan, which was good.
I think there is some feeling that they want to continue, but have to do another commitment. David?
What they're looking at, they haven't looked at the programs program in the last 4 years, so they're going to revisit it.
Yep.
And they talked about the municipalities that used it, municipalities that didn't, and their full intent is they still want to keep the money there.
Yep.
For the municipalities that want to use it.
Yeah, that's what I figured. I'm getting a feeling, and there's about well over 100,000 still left in the fund, without putting more money in that's still there that didn't get used. So I think the idea was to commit it to be used for trails, and if some people aren't taking advantage of it, then the people that are should be able to go back at the pot. I think that's going to have an opportunity. Yeah. Okay.
I'll make a motion to receive it.
On Dave. All in favor? Very good. Okay. Ron will be happy. We'll send the note down to him in
Corpus Christi, Texas.
Corpus Christi, Texas. And now staff reports. Michelle. We have a couple. This is severance.
So 2 severance reports. So through you, Mayor Bridge, the first one is an application to sever a vacant parcel of approximately 1.19 acres of land with the intent to build a residential dwelling upon it. And then the retained parcel is approximately 2.72 acres, and it already has an existing rural residence and shed, which is expected to remain the same. The property is currently zoned agricultural and will continue to meet the minimum lot frontage requirements, should the severance be accepted. Town staff met and are in favor of the severance, provided that the standard conditions which are in the report can be met.
Questions?
Yeah, thanks, Mayor Bitch. Michelle, there's really no other use for that corner piece of property other than sitting there with trees on it.
Yes, and if I'm not mistaken, the gentleman who currently owns the property has a severance before you actually attempted to come forward a number of years ago, but hadn't met the 5-year waiting requirement. Right. So he's now met that and has come back.
And we authorized it, but land division turned down because he had 5 years. And Terry mentioned to me today that's a really good look at the forest, but the forest, if you actually go up and look at it, is really not good. That whole bush area is jack pines that they're falling down there. But when you look at this aerial shot, I go, wow, well, that's pretty dense bush, right? But if you drive out there, you'll see that it's pretty not real good bush, and they'll have to do a tree.
Yep.
They're doing a tree. The county has
the county will have to do a tree environmental study and all that stuff. So.
Great.
I think it's a good move, and get maybe another residence there, and they're not cheap residents out there.
You know, and that entire, or most of that entire road is very well suited for rural housing, for sure. Just a little comment that it's very difficult sometimes to tell where these properties are, and I know that road fairly well, but there are a couple of 90-degree bends in that road, and for starters.
Yep.
And I guess I always think it's funny whenever we make the drawing with the road like at the top of the picture, because we can't stand here at the bottom of the picture and look at it because that's in the middle of the property somewhere, right? So it's kind of confusing to try and figure out where these things are sometimes. But yeah, that road is very well suited to rural housing. That's what should be there, and I'm glad that he's come back to get it.
Hey, motion to accept.
I think that was a motion to accept.
Judy? David, all in favor?
Thank you.
And you have one more, next one.
I do. So the next application before you, they're practically identical lots. They are 512 square meter parcels. The one parcel is zoned low density residential and has already a existing garage and residential dwelling. The intention is to keep the garage and residential dwelling as is. Now, having said that, the garage is actually encroaching on to the right of way, and therefore an encroachment agreement would be required. The retained parcel is the one that has the church and is zoned institutional, and the intent for that parcel is to be converted into a single detached dwelling. So it will require a rezoning amendment, and it will also require an entrance and connection to services. Again, we met and no major issues were brought forward other than the encroachment and service conditions to be met. Also, if you will notice, and my apologies, should you approve this, it unfortunately reads application B16117 for the Andrade severance, and it should in fact read application PLBB 118007, Diocese of Huron severance, part lot 17, southwest side of Webb Street, 31 and 35.
Okay.
Street.
Wow.
Yes. I had to go and mess up a little bit more.
Any questions?
I memorized it.
What does all that mean? PLB, like, aren't
The
severance
honest to
applications?
goodness truth is that the county is using a new system, and that is the new generated number. They are patiently entertaining that for now, and it may go back to the regular B00 whatever, and then for the year, but for now, these are the new application numbers.
Wow. Won't be able to memorize those.
Oh, okay.
You did already.
Do you have a question,
As soon as
Ron?
you said it, I just turned away.
Yeah.
Do you have a question, or were you just making a motion?
No, I was just memorizing.
Okay.
Photographic.
Wow.
Need a motion to accept. Is anybody going to? David, all in favor? Good.
Thank you.
Thank you. sad to see the church go.
Mhm.
They make an awesome residence, though.
It will. That will be nice.
That would be really interesting.
I assume they'll probably do something with the hall too and make it into apartments or something.
So what? Is it just one apartment now?
It's upstairs, yeah, and then the hall downstairs.
That was more
Oh,
than one.
Matt, you're right there.
Back again.
Okay, come on up. After school program.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Bridge. So this is just a quick report on something you may already be aware of. School boards have been mandated to ensure the provision of before and after school care programs where there is sufficient demand, beginning in 2018-19 calendar school year. And as a parent with children in one of our local schools, an invite was just sent home this week to participate in an online survey regarding this, with the intent for the school boards to figure out whether there is sufficient demand. In the meantime, the school boards are looking to partner with licensed childcare providers as well as authorized recreation providers such as the YMCA and us as a municipality to make this happen. And as a municipality, we are eligible to apply to run an authorized after-school only program for grade 1 to 6 age students. Back on January the 5th, so just a couple of weeks ago, an RFP was made public, and the deadline, it's a tight turnaround, it's actually February the 14th. So at this point, all we're asking is for your approval to submit a RFP to the school board to run an after-school program. If we were to be successful in our application, we would then negotiate the details with the school board, subject to your approval of our business plan for that program. So there'd be no obligation. Only then would we, if you were to approve a business plan, if we were to get the RFP approved, would we sign an official agreement with the school board. So we're not obligated to do anything if we submit the RFP, but if we don't, we would miss out on providing the in-school program. Like I said, that deadline's February 14th, so that's actually going to be before the next regularly scheduled council meeting.
You remember just two questions. We're not allowed to do before and after. It has to be just after.
Through Mayor Bridge, correct. As the town of Minto, as a municipality, we're only eligible for the portion of the program that's after school for grades 1 to 6. Anything to do with before school care or for kids aged 4 and 5 would have to be done by a licensed childcare provider, and we aren't licensed right now. That would be something that the county would have to look at doing.
Okay, so that was my second question. Because as a licensed childcare, you'd have all kinds of rules, and so we don't fall under those rules or regulations as far as what we have to provide.
Yeah. So yeah, there is a big difference between the extended day and school-aged licensed programming for 4 and 5-year-olds as opposed to an authorized rec provider like us coming in and doing something for grade 1 to 6. There's still rules and regulations, but they're not near as stringent. Yeah.
And working with the county on this, with Louisa, and she's quite aware, and we've been, because the one thing, there hasn't been a town do this yet. This is just new.
Okay.
Towns, before we couldn't have got into this.
Great.
So as you remember, Meredith.
Yes.
So basically the county would pick up in Palmerston because of the new child care center. They're looking at changing their rules a little bit to take the junior kindergarten on in Palmerston if we do this program after school. Just to think. And as far as before school, it is not as much need before school as after school. A lot of people can arrange to when they're working to get the kids off, get them to school, but it's the after school program when they can't get there till 6 o'clock or whatever to pick them up, right? So you might not get enough. We'll see how it goes, but I don't think right now we couldn't do the before school program. But I personally have had a lot of people come to me and ask, well, and there's just nobody will step up and take this RFP on in our area. I mean, it'd be nice if they did.
That was my question.
In the city, what happens is the YMCAs and stuff do it because it works nicely with their programming, right? They have people and everything else. So the council wouldn't have to make a decision on the total cost and what it would be. I would hope it would be self-sufficient. That's the plan, that people would pay for the amount of money that they need because they have to do it somewhere, right? But because we have some expertise in recreation programming that Matt feels that we could provide that part if we, like we use the school gym and you could run sports program afterwards or whatever. It doesn't have to be really structured, but you have to have so many people in there, and there's some rules and regulations we'd have to follow. But that should be a cost to the person that's dropping them off. But we will never get a program. There's nobody out there. We haven't got a community group that would take this on. It's not. Well, that's why we don't have one. And I'm just so fearful that there's kids out there that are probably 8 or 9 years old or going home and locking the door until their parents get home. Because we don't have enough after school child care spots either because of the new rules, right? You can't, if you already have 3 kids, and you can't take 3 more home. Like you put yourself in jeopardy.
Even if they go during the day, so even if they're only there till 4 o'clock and the next one come in, they're counted together, so you can't have that number of total kids, even though the hours offset.
So when this came up, that I was talking to Louisa one day about, probably we started this 6 or 7 months ago.
Maybe about a half
a year ago, that she said it looks like they're going to change the program, that we might have an opportunity. But what it gets me, almost we have to sort of say we want to put the RFP in without knowing really if we have enough kids or whatever. So we still have an opportunity if there's not enough kids to make it self-sustaining. I think we might have to do a little bit of money till we get at the first part of it, maybe a few $1,000s. I don't know how much, because we'll have to hire people in that till the kids start coming. But we'll have to cross that bridge.
Wasn't that the school's responsibility, though, to decipher if there was a need for it?
Well, that's what they do. They send the thing home.
Surveys out.
But they don't even, I don't think your note even says how much it costs, does it?
To be honest, I haven't taken the online survey yet.
Okay.
It just came home Monday night of all things, and it's just basically an invite to go online and participate in a survey. So
we'll have to negotiate with them as far as what it costs for their premises and all the other stuff. That'll have to be done after. But I just want us to have at least the opportunity to put our name in.
Right.
And we can't wait.
But if they're mandated to do this, you would think that they would be more open to
they're only mandated,
negotiate someone coming in.
They're only mandated to offer it.
Or just to offer it.
Not to do it. They're only to offer it. And if they can create not enough need, which they haven't been real forceful in that, that's the difference, right? 17.
So when I was reading through this, I think this is an excellent idea. Because I can almost guarantee you that there are kids at home because parents just don't know what else to do with them, and the possibility of them, it's all fine if nothing happens, but if something does happen, is it my understanding from reading this then, though, it would have to take place at the school? There'd be no opportunity to take the kids and walk them down to the arena?
Well, Three Mare Bridge, with respect to the RFP, it's for in-school care, after school.
Do we pay for that? Do we have to pay the school?
We'd have to negotiate.
Oh.
Yeah, there's in the RFP itself, there are some suggested rates, and I don't know if they'll be standard across the board or if it will be dependent upon the school and the provider, because their goal is to find a non-profit to do it, but if that doesn't work, then for-profits could potentially apply. With respect to maybe using a third-party site, including, say, the town, like an arena, I'd have to look into that further, because then I think that would just be separate from this RFP process.
Okay.
And perhaps maybe that's something we could do on our own without having to go through that. But then the transportation issue becomes more apparent.
I mean, in our particular instance, it's not that far a walk. And if you had the care providers go up, gather up the kids, take them down to the arena. I don't know. I don't know what the school is asking for, but I have heard that they're asking sort of prohibitive rates because they're really not all that keen on having these programs in there. So they're trying to make it difficult, which is a shame. And you're thinking it's one government agency basically working with another government agency, and why wouldn't we work sort of hand in hand? But
well, and on that, Gene, we work with them now on they use our arenas and stuff like that. So we have some agreements. So we might be able to negotiate something locally. Right. Yes. So I just tonight it's just a matter of should we go for it? If you guys are all right to go for at least the RFP, and we'll get into the nuts and bolts as we go along. Moved by Lou, second by Gene. All in favor? I think it's a good first step, and we'll see what we can get going here. And Bill just mentioned in my ear, that might be the plan B for Gabby and stuff like that, because I always foresaw that on our programs, we could have some of our students and other people, like the high school students, work with us on this program, because you're running a program there. So some of it could be volunteer and some of it could be
And
paid.
some of it could be their volunteer hours.
Exactly. There's all kinds of neat things that could come out of this, right?
They're experiential volunteering. If they're looking at ECE, education, or careers, then that's a perfect opportunity.
And Matt runs an excellent summer program and other programs, so it would just add value to us, getting staff and maintaining staff, because we have a lot of co-op programs out there that university students could come and work through the year in different times, right? So I think we have opportunities here. We just have to make sure it's cost justifiable, and we have to keep the rate down enough for the parents that it's viable for them as well. That's been the problem, right?
Yes.
But I think it's a good service if we can come up with it, and it really works in economic development as far as what our kids, if we get more kids coming.
And just with respect to the school board too, the after school use of or the after I forget what the program's called now. It used to be the continual use of schools, but the after hours programs, like our basketball program that we offer, being able to go in there and use the gym for no charge because it's a free program has been great. That's helped us financially, been able to offer a program. And so I have seen some changes over the years with the board. They're a little more open to third-party use of the school at a reasonable rate. So. Yep.
And I think our taxpayers would like to see more of that, because they pay for those schools as well. It's like anything else. Like, they pay for the arenas, they pay for the schools. The schools are sitting empty, not being used. Why wouldn't they want to have them used if there's a program that could use them, right? So I think we've got some negotiation here to work on, but
we'll follow the RFP, see where it takes us.
Great.
Good job.
Bill, you're up next.
Thank you, Mayor Bridge. 2 years ago, we installed electric vehicle supply equipment, EVSE, in Clifford at our arena. That application was done by ArtGen Solar or SunSaver 2 or Ralph Moore, however you know him. He is our solar guy, and he happened to come upon the application at that time, and we put in for 3 locations. We ended up getting 1 approved. That is a different program from this one. He's come upon the program again. This one applies to workplaces. It's not 100% funding in this case, and he has a different kind of installation, a CT4K, which would go in for these locations, and it's essentially for employment properties, so places where people work. So the locations we thought of are here, obviously, as one, Palmerston and Harriston, and the 4th one was the Palmerston Railway Heritage Museum. And we do have people that work there, more seasonal, but what we liked about that one is it might be a chance to get some improvements to the parking lot at the same time. So if council's interested, Mr. Moore will submit on our behalf on those locations. If they are approved, our cost could be approximately $3,000. That would be paid for between us and ArtGen, depending on a partnership agreement. So if you remember, what happened before is council approved Mr. Moore submitting the application. He did that. We were made a contract offer. We brought back a contract for council to look at it. It contained the specific financial information, and when you were satisfied with that, we approved it, and then he installed it. So this is another one of those. You take a leap of faith, submit an application, and if you're approved, then we try and bring forward a proposal that makes sense for you. So the worst case cost is about $3,000 if we do in fact get one.
So I'm curious, if I have an electric vehicle, do I need a charging station at my home, or can I just plug it into an outlet?
Charging station.
Really? Wow.
So these ones, if I may, Airbridge are for employees, but I don't know any employee that we have that has an electric vehicle right now. But if they're not being used, then the public can use them. So that's the good thing. And there would be revenue generated from it. And just a word on what's happening here, because we have the new solar connections on our roof, it actually over-generated power. So it's more efficient than we ever thought. So we have to actually mitigate that power as providing too much to the grid. But what Rolf would like to do would be to connect it into this charger somehow, so we can charge the charger through solar. And if we get our little other solar panel we've applied for, it could fully charge the charging station, which is kind of cool. So I think we call it kind of a more complete environmental solution. So we'll see. And of course, in 2019, your budget showed building department looking at a second pickup. Maybe then we would be ready for an electric vehicle. Who knows?
David and
Yeah, thank you, Mayor Bridge. I think this is wonderful. I mean, we've worked well with Rolf. This is looking into the future, and quite honestly, why buy an electric car if there's no place to plug it in? So, you know, people might say you're getting the cart before the horse, but I don't think we are, and I think we should move on this and get 3 or 4 more around the town of Minto if we can.
who is that? Jean? Did you?
Just a question is, so if people can use it, like the one in Clifford, do they pay to charge there now? And how is it being provided with power? You plug it into, what's it wired into? Or?
It's wired into the arena, so the hydro bill is reconciled by ArtGen every few months or whenever it's due, and then we get a net profit off it. So it's, I don't know if I said in
Do
there.
we get a profit off of it?
We made $284 last year.
Well,
It's not a lot, but we all knew when it went in, it wouldn't get used all that much. So the question is, will it be used more in the future?
And I agree with Councillor Turton. Like this is coming, and when you really think about this, the infrastructure that's going to have to go into cities to provide car charging stations, because they basically going to have to be in every parking spot, everywhere. Every parking garage is going to have to become retrofitted with charging stations. I don't know. We won't even talk about that cost. Like there was lots of talk at Rona about electric vehicles and becoming net zero houses and green efforts, but where's the money going to come from? So I mean, if we can get opportunities to get them, it's what's coming. It's coming down the pipes whether we like it or not.
And just
Yeah,
go ahead.
Yeah, thanks. Sorry, talking twice here, but Mainland Valley Conservation have an electric car.
They do.
They have it plugged in. It's good for, I think, 300 kilometers, and it's perfect because when our director or somebody takes it and goes to Toronto to monthly Conservation Authority meeting, the Toronto Conservation Authority has likely 10 or 12 plugins there and it's just staying with the times. Let's get on with it.
The wave of the future.
So,
I was just going to make a motion.
oh, okay, just, make a motion, that's fine, you want to?
Sure.
Yep.
I'll
By
second.
Ron, second by Dave, all in favor? And just a comment on it, this might be something too, the FCM Environmental Fund, we might be able to pick up some, on this, there's an environmental fund that you can apply for grants scored, I think.
I don't know how many times we heard it get more electric vehicles.
Yeah.
That's the number one thing.
Yeah, and on that, Wellington County is got, they're going to do the same program. They were going to put another one in Clifford at the medical center. I said, no, we don't need one there. But they are putting, one of the sites is the OPP station in Tivadale.
Sure.
So that'd be another one. So that would be nice connection. So I think it's a great idea to get going on this. So you got your marching orders there. So,
Thank you.
I just lost my thing here. Sheen went down.
Here.
Sorry, I got it right here. Up again, Bill.
Mayor Bridge, thank you. The next item is the, W. Schwitt & Sons amendment to the agreement of purchase and sale. In 2014, we sold the first half of the old Clifford ball field to W. Schwitt & Sons. The cost of that purchase was $180,000 for the land and $60,000 towards servicing. The first phase of that along Brown Street was concluded on February of 2015, and he paid $100,000 at that time and $30,000 towards servicing. So the work on Brown Street was done, and it's taken him a little longer than he had thought initially, but all the 7 townhouse units or semis are now built on Brown Street. It turns out that the date for the second closing had passed, and although we had been in discussion with Mr. Schwint about excuse me, carrying on, with the passing of Bruce Fulcher, it kind of slipped through, and so he had invested, Mr. Schwint, in the semis. He built the pond and the park in behind, and he had prepared the land for the units on William Street. His intention is is to proceed this year with the semi-detached units. Our recommendation is that you support him extending his agreement of purchase and sale on that. He has shown willingness to increase his cost. He is only putting in 6 units now, but he's found the market for semi-detached has been a little bit more desirable than townhouses. So he upped his connection costs by $6,000, which we certainly appreciate. So the terms of the extension are shown there, and we have budgeted for this work to start in 2018, and he understands the timing of all the other work we have going on in Clifford, so he'll close sometime in May or very early June, and then he would be moving forward with building permits after the first couple blocks of Allura Street are done. And our recommendation is that you authorize the mayor and I to sign the amending agreement and any other documents needed to conclude this transfer. Questions? You want to move it?
Yeah, I'll move it.
David?
Second.
Judy? All in favor? Sorry, Ron.
It's okay.
I saw the arm, but just as you
Judy's
said.
much
the name.
quicker than I am.
Quicker.
And she wants to second.
And I'll move it over to the treasurer
Okay.
and chair of finance. I know. Just the treasurer and the chair of finance.
Thank you. The Finance Committee has 2 items on the agenda tonight, and I welcome Treasurer Duff. And the first item is the changes to the vacancy rebate program. And I'll turn it over to you.
Great. All right. Thank you, Chair Caldwell. So this is maybe not very understandable report, but it is the culmination of the work that this council and the staff started back in August of 2016 and many discussions before that to try and get another tool to improve our downtowns and try and encourage the maintenance of high property standards. So again, just to recap, we had to request the county, to request the Ministry of Finance to do this legislation. The act came down, this regulation, number 58117, came right at the end of the year, December 20th, and it was finally proclaimed on January the 6th of 18. I guess the one little wrinkle, I was reading through the actual legislation, and everything had said that as long as you had your bylaw in place by February, which has always had been February, but in the fine print of the legislation, it's January 31st. So that means it has to come to this council meeting here. So also, it's a very detailed regulation with some general principles, but then specific things to all the lower tiers and the single tiers and upper tiers that have requested changes. So the town of Minto is one of the, how do they phrase it, the specified municipalities in Wellington County. So it's Minto, Wellington North, and Erin that are actually doing something, and Wellington North and Minto are doing a very similar change to the program. Basically, we're maintaining the vacancy rebate program at the same rates, which is 30% for commercial and 35% for industrial. But if you're in a community improvement area and your building is, use the term, derelict, or it needs some tender loving care, and you're not taking advantage of the many things that the town of Minto provides, including facade grants and structural grants and various other incentives, then it gives us the discretion to say, no, we're not going to kind of subsidize your operations until you start taking advantage of it. So basically, the bylaw that we can consider in open council quotes the legislation it's Section 364 of the Municipal Act governs vacancy rebates, and I guess that whole program came in 2001 because it's a regulation 32501, and this latest regulation amends that regulation and puts it the criteria in place. And I think I know the language is a little confusing, and there's a lot of references to other bits of legislation, but we've talked through it so much with the Ministry of Finance. I think it accomplishes everything that we wanted and the Economic Development Committee and the Chamber of Commerce wanted. So anyway, I can entertain if you have any questions. Or
Yes,
Okay, sorry. Thank you. You were saying it's just going to be in the places where so if somebody has an apartment building, for example.
It's only commercial or industrial, though.
Okay.
Yeah.
So, okay.
Yeah.
So it wouldn't matter about somebody out of the district that has a commercial building.
Commercial, it would, yeah. So if you're
So
not in
a
the
block
plan,
behind our area where we have. Is everybody?
We considerably expanded our community improvement plans. The ones that aren't going to be able to take advantage are primarily in the rural area. So that was one of the nitty-gritty points that we wanted to put in. We did not want to exclude people in rural areas who could not apply even if they wanted.
Right.
So they're still in. So there's no real change to that.
So really, everybody there's too many people that would not be eligible.
There's very few that won't be eligible. Yeah. But as you know, we've tried property standards and building code.
I understand.
And fire.
I think this is fantastic.
Yeah, I think it's one
right
thing.
We're moving ahead.
Yeah, and just on that, and thanks, Gord, for all your hard work on this. I mean, we kind of stuck you on that committee down there in Toronto, and I guess if you're going to get kind of results like this, we'll get you on a couple more committees. Get a lot more done, eh? But they haven't called us again or anything, but we'll work on that. But I like our approach. Our approach is that we're not penalizing people that are really trying to get things done, because we in a small town and there's businesses that maybe are suffering from financial setback or whatever, but they're working with us. And we're allowing that, and through the chamber and through ourselves and everything else. We want to get them done. But certainly the people that abuse the system, that our residents have always said, why can't we do something about that? This allows us to do what we can do there. A lot of the bigger communities, like the Torontos and whatever, they're just getting rid of the program.
Yeah.
So they're just saying, nope, there's no more program, because they've got the ability to do that now. I think our approach is more the humane approach, and the one that we should be working with CIP and all that stuff. So.
No, I agree with you, but as you say, the changes came through, the latitude came through, and the vast majority are going, we're getting out of it.
Yep.
But I think this approach suits our community.
Yep.
Yes. And as you say, it allows people that are really working on it and trying to make the community better the time to do that.
And that was what the program was there for in the first place. If you're going to take the savings you've got to fix your building up so that you can rent it, that was why the program existed. And then when people didn't do that, then that makes no sense. So now we have control.
Thank you, Chair. How many buildings in Minto will this affect? Any idea?
The potential number of buildings is high. The actual number is pretty low. We only do maybe like 5 or 6 of these a year, and I think I said in my report it's only like 3,500 a year. So, and that's an average, and there was a lot a few years ago. So it's not a huge financial benefit or loss, but the idea is a spin-off, and hopefully in the long term it will increase our commercial assessment, and that's where we'll make it back.
Thank you.
Any other questions? No? Then the recommendation is the Council of the Town of Minto accepts the Treasurer and Tax Collector's report dated January 16, 2018 regarding changes to the vacancy rebate program and considers a bylaw in open session. Now, would someone move that? Councillor Anderson, seconded by Councillor Dirksen. All in favor? And the motion is passed. And the second item on our agenda is the approval of accounts. I'll turn it back over to Treasurer Duff.
Great, thanks, Chair Caldwell. Once again, the vast majority of our expenditures are in the roads department And as I say, they're not doing the construction now, but they were a couple of months ago, and the bills come in. So we have $246,000 on the George Street reconstruction. A little bit more, about $46,000 on King and John. We bought some Christmas lights, primarily in Palmerston this year, and that was about $12,000. And sand and salt, those invoices are coming through, $25,000, and some fire software upgrades for about $12,000. So those are the highlights.
Any questions? Then the recommendation is the Council of the Town of Minto receives the Treasurer's Report dated January 15th regarding approval of accounts and approves the Town of Minto accounts by department for December 2017. Councillor Turton, seconded by Councillor Anderson. All in favor? And the motion is passed. And I turn the chair back to Mayor Bridge.
Thank you. And where other businesses disclosed, David.
Yes, thank you very much, Mayor Bridge. Just wanted to remind everybody that we are having a Canada Packers reunion this summer. It's August 11th, and I'm not going to do this every council meeting. It is not the plowing match, but I did.
Only if you bring ice cream every time. Like that'd be nice. You bring ice cream.
But it is in conjunction with the Downtown Revitalization Committee, the Historical Society, the Kinsmen, the Legion, and the Downtown Street Party. So it is August 11th, and I appreciate everybody putting that on their calendars. And there just happens to be a meeting this Thursday night, and we're in the early stages. We do have some plans. I mean, we hope there's things going on Friday night, Saturday, and possibly Sunday. That would be the 10th, 11th for sure. So I'm just asking everybody for their support. Thank you.
Anybody else?
I just have a question for Councillor Turton. Is it in conjunction with the Harrison Street Party?
Yes, ma'am, it is.
Oh, so it's actually moved up or earlier a week then, is it? Or not?
Yeah, I'm not sure. I can't answer that. There was a little bit of confusion whether
So that's
it was
not
August
the weekend we
11th
leave
or
for
August
AMO, I guess
18th.
is what I was thinking, right?
I think you're right, Judy. I think you're a week ahead. That would be good because AMO's on that.
Yeah.
Is
So
the
that's
week
good.
after.
Yeah,
I was
that's good.
thinking
Yeah,
that.
so it is in conjunction with the Downtown Street Party.
Okay, good.
And I'll have more information as we go.
Promise?
And we'll let you talk a bit more on it, Dave. Don't worry about it. We'll cut you off when we get
Thank
like,
you.
to the.
Okay, so you don't mind me
Oh, you can
every
bring it
council
up.
meeting?
You can bring it up. That's not a problem. Not with me, but maybe with the rest of us.
Thank you.
And I had something. I forgot it now.
Oh, good.
I think I must have came up. Did you remember what I was going to say? I don't know.
It was good.
Well, I didn't want to say, Gord. I was going to talk about that one item that you got at Roma. Can we? Yeah, would you do that for me? That was what I had down here because it's nice to end a meeting with good news.
You have good news?
Oh, that one.
I know we're always very cautious about making grant announcements outside of turn, but the press was there and everything.
Yep.
So at this morning's session at the Roma conference, the Minister of Agriculture, Food and Rural Affairs, Jeff Leal, announced a program as part of the RED program, the Rural Economic Development. They're calling it the Main Street Initiative. And what I like about it is we don't have to apply or anything. We've already got it. And it's a formula-based one, partly on population and I think some other variables. And I have not read all the strings or didn't know the fine print. It just came out. But anyway, we're getting $43,388, and it's for your downtowns, and it's for municipal infrastructure, or businesses and all that too. And my first thought is, well, we're going to be spending some dollars on streetscapes in Clifford, so that will certainly help. Maybe it'll expand what we can do, but we'll have to read the fine print. But yeah, that was
what I. So it's good news.
It was very good news. Yep. Yeah, he announced it at 9:00. Said it'd be on the website, and 9:30 it was there. So
I was waiting all conference for something to come out because it's election. And boom. Yeah.
Yeah. So anyway, no, it's a good way to end.
Thank you. That was it.
Lots of promises.
Well,
Everything's going to get fixed
well, that's true. It's true.
At no cost to us.
no cost to anybody. It's just going to be magic.
It is
Money's
coming.
going to appear.
All right. Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Elliott. The committee of the whole convenes a regular council meeting. All in favor? Good. Moved by Councillor Caldwell, second by Councillor Dirksen, that the council of the town of Minto ratifies motions made in the committee of the whole. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Turton, second by Councillor Anderson, bylaw number 2018-4 to establish a tax rebate program for vacant portions of the property in commercial property or industrial property classes, and to repeal bylaw number 0222, be introduced, read, and first, second, and third time, and passed in open council, COC of the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Elliott, second by Councillor Dirksen, the bylaw number 2018-5 to amend the agreement to purchase or sale for the former Clifford Ball Field between William and Brown Street at John Street with W. Schmidt and Sons Building Contractors Limited be introduced and read first, second, and third time, and passed over council, COC of the corporation. All in favor? That's a long one. Moved by Councillor Caldwell, second by Councillor Turton, bylaw number 2018-06 to confirm the actions of the council of the corporation of Town of Minto respecting a meeting held January 23rd, 2018, be introduced, read first, second, and third time, and passed over council, COC of the corporation. All in favor? Moved by Councillor Anderson, second by Councillor Dirksen. The council of the town of Minto adjourned to meet again at the call of mayor. All in favor? Thanks everybody for a good meeting.